intentional marketing, creating customer success in trucking with marketing on LinkedIn. If that sounds obscure to you, if that sounds a little bit like, okay, what's going on here? Check out this podcast with Tristan Bordallo from Fr8topia. Really excited to have them on the pod. He's a great friend of mine and it was an awesome episode. Let's go in right now.
New Trend Society, the BDX marketing podcast with Benjamin Dietering.
So happy to have you on the podcast here, Tristan Bordallo from Fr8topia.
Hey, thank you so much, Benny. That was an awesome intro, by the way. Yeah, it's cool. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. This is awesome.
Tell us a little bit about trucking. So I remember when I was 16 years old, I got a computer game and it was called 18 Wheels of Steel. And you were a truck driver driving throughout the US. And it sounded pretty funny, but you actually were driving like with your keyboard and mouse, and you were driving like for 3 hours if you had a delivery from Seattle to Miami or whatever. It made good money in the game. I always think trucking is pretty romantic. Like the lonesome wolf on the streets and being out there, providing people with goods and all that. How did you come into that in the first place?
That is, it's interesting that you have that view of trucking, because in America, that's not the view that we have of trucking. I feel that trucking is like a lower class job now, but I don't drive a truck, by the way. I am in brokerage. So when I first started, I just started in brokerage. I started in LTL, which was less than truckload. Then I got into full truckloads. And then one day I decided to just go and start my own business with the actual trucks, because that's who I used to hire on the brokerage. So brokerages, they don't own any trucks. They hire people who own trucks. So what I did was bought these trucks and got to learn that life with my drivers, really intimate. And like you said, it's romantic. These guys really tell me the stories of the road.
The hard stories, right?
The crazy story that they see at truck stops, how other people are driving, how they're being treated at different locations that they deliver to. It's not as fun as the games that you were playing. And there's a lot of sitting time. These guys sit in their trucks, pretty lonely.
How did you come up with that in the beginning? Like, why were you interested in that kind of business?
I think it's more for me about legacy, in terms of, because I worked with a company, it's like a franchise, a publicly traded company called Covenant Transport. And it wasn't my company. My name wasn't on the truck. So when I turned 40 in 2018, I felt like that would have been a great idea to have my own legacy, my name on the truck with a name I picked out. So I didn't, if I was going to build someone else's company, I might as well make it mine. And so I wanted to really, really own those trucks, because that's the hardest part of the business. And I don't know if you know, but trucking is one of the hardest industries to make money in. And I don't know why I bought these trucks.
Is it a little bit like groceries and retail, that they're like very small margins and it's all about volume, like 1% margins or so? Like how does it work generally? Let's say I have a truckload of stuff. I want to get it from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. How does it work usually?
That's like the hardest thing about trucking is knowing the lanes that are going to be the most profitable. So like in groceries, there isn't much profit in the stuff that you're selling for, whatever is on the shelves. Okay. You make most of your money probably in the cut fruit or something like that, or in the hot bar. So the same thing with trucking, you got to pick out which is the hot bar. So right now, the most profitable are events or companies that want us to do round trips for them. That's the most profitable, because it is it could be a non-profit organization. I think if you look at like publicly traded companies and you actually look at their margins, you would cry.
Okay. But let's say I have a truckload of stuff from Vegas to LA. How much would that be to transport it?
So Vegas to LA is actually a backhaul load. So the money comes from LA to Vegas. So coming from Vegas, because Vegas is a consumer state, they're not really building stuff. Not yet, at least. So in California, we have the ports here. So all of that have to get transferred to all the 48 contingent states. And Vegas, our trucks go to Vegas for, let's say, $1,200 to $1,500.
Okay.
When we get back, we're lucky if we get $500 to $800. So it's not the same thing because there's nothing coming out of Vegas, only parties.
Yeah. so you'd say there's can you say like which states are the ones where stuff is produced and where which are the states where stuff is going to?
I think now the landscape always changes, but Los Angeles has always been a hot market. Another market that's really hot is Chicago, Dallas, because things come up from Mexico as well.
To Dallas?
Well, not Dallas, but it's coming through McAllen and Laredo, because it's being transported from Mexico into the U.S. Those are ports of entry. So those are very hot markets. And of course, Freight Alley, that's the Chattanooga, Atlanta, like in that southeast. They're also...
Where's that Freight Alley at? Like, so I don't know that much about trucking besides that computer game, right?
Yeah.
And our listeners are most of the time like people who work in marketing and don't know how to work the hard stuff.
Yeah.
So just kidding. But what's a Freight Alley?
That's in the east. That's southeast.
Okay.
You know, that's like if you really look. You know how we have Hollywood here?
Yep.
Is like where all the awesome, like the Hollywood of freight is in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's right.
Wow.
So Tennessee is a big hub, and in that area you have, you know, Atlanta, the Carolinas. So it's easy to get to all of that. Like
okay.
They have their own, you know, network in that area that's going in and out, and it's really everything's within like I don't know, 1,500 miles radius or less than that. So they're able to move freight from one to the other to distribute them. It's not as and they have Savannah, Georgia now as a port that's really, really booming. So it's just like LA, right? We have the LA ports, and now they have the Savannah ports that hit up that area. So
why did Savannah? So Savannah is in Virginia or Georgia?
No, it's in Georgia.
Georgia,
yeah, that's the port there. So you know how we have Long Beach port?
Yeah.
There's a Savannah.
Why is that one booming? I mean, they also have like there's Miami, there's Baltimore, and all that ports.
Well, Miami's a little bit further down,
yeah.
So it has to come back up. So I mean, I think that's more central.
Okay.
And if you ever like if you are in Chattanooga, you're there right there at Atlanta. You know what I mean? It's really
it's
close.
Very close.
It's close to it could hit all of the southeast states. And I don't know Miami. Miami's never been I mean, it is a big port, but I don't know why they chose Savannah over Miami. I really don't know that answer. So
I mean, probably also some incentives by the government or so.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. A friend of mine works at VW as an executive, and she always flies down to Chattanooga. And I was wondering, like, first, where the hell is Chattanooga? Yeah. Second, why is she there? And what's the business that's happening there? And obviously, it's that, right?
Yeah, it's the Hollywood of freight. Like, you know, the company that I came from is Covenant Transport, publicly traded. So they come from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay. And there's a lot. I mean, FedEx is in Tennessee as well. So it's a very good hub. If you look at the map of the United States, yep. You'll see that Chattanooga is like perfectly placed.
Is there also like hubs in New York area or like on the...
Yeah, there's those ports. You have the New Jersey port. That's like the northern side. That's the northeast. So you have southeast, and then you have the northeast. So the northeast, what would be comparable to Savannah is the New Jersey hub.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, Long Beach here being... If I took you to Long Beach, it would blow your mind how much containers are going in and that area. Okay. It's insane. We should go there, field trip.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fun. I would love to go there. Can you actually go in there?
Yeah, I mean, I get these. So I'm part of Harbor Trucking Association.
Okay.
So we could get invites to go on an actual ship if you want.
Nice.
That would be a cool field trip.
Yeah, we should do that with you. Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't even been on one of those boats. I recently just got in with the guys that are running, you know, that are running the drayage, and I would love to do that and take a field trip. That'd be a fun field trip.
I mean, that's what I love about life is to understand how the world works. And coming here to LA, to a new country for me, it's so amazing. There's so much stuff I never heard of before. I never experienced before, as Europe is so dense and so small, right? You kind of know how, when you grow up, like how stuff works. And it's very interesting to see all these differences here and also like the similarities, and I love it, right? So I was at another event at EO a couple months ago in San Pedro, which is just north of Long Beach.
Oh yeah.
And we were also on a boat, and there was like the sailing regatta or like a championship or so.
Yeah.
And everybody was watching the race, but for me it was way more interesting like watching the container ships and what goes in the port and out the port. It's so interesting to understand how stuff works.
Yeah, you're like one of the most curious guys I know. I mean, hanging out with you for the last couple months now, you're super curious.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm about too. And just seeing those containers and being in that space,
Yeah.
you literally just go, wow, this is how, because everything that you see in this room that we're in right now, everything has come on a boat or an airplane, or you know what I mean? Because everything is imported into the US. So those containers have to move through all the 48 contingent states. But when I say 48 contingent, they're all together.
Yep.
And then, you have Hawaii and Alaska, but those are harder to get to.
Do you guys also do trucking to Alaska?
No. It's interesting that Alaska actually has to go on a ferry. The actual truck actually goes on the ferry.
Oh, wow. So you don't drive through Canada?
No, that's not how they usually take a ferry, I think, in Washington, and then it cuts through to Alaska.
Because it's just shorter?
Yeah, it's shorter that way.
Oh,
yeah, it's
okay.
probably cheaper too. Alaska's like Hawaii. It's like an island, right?
It's very isolated,
It's
right?
isolated. It's hard. Those are hard places to get to. But that's why we only do 48 states. And I can't imagine what the insurance would look like on that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because if it goes on a boat, I think once it goes on a boat, you're like 50 cents to $1 per pound. I mean, that's nothing.
Okay.
So
yeah, true.
Imagine all those Volkswagens getting, if a boat stinks.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be crazy.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
We want to talk a bit about marketing later, but for now, I want to explore more about the trucking side and all that. What is the biggest competitor for trucking in general? And I mean, not other trucking companies or other brokerages or so. Is it train freight? Is it airplane express delivery? Or what? Is it drones in the future? What is it?
Oh, you mean the biggest threat?
Yeah.
So I mean, I could talk about autonomous driving. That's a big threat. Also,
no, I mean, biggest threat on one side, but more like alternatives to trucking. So, is there like a big freight rail infrastructure?
Oh yeah. So like these are the modes of transportation. So you have obviously the ocean, that's import export, and then you have intermodal, which are the trains, and then you have air freight, which goes on the airlines, and then you have trucks. So I think right now trucks are more, because you have the big trucks, small trucks, it could get anywhere, and train is more, from one city to the next city, but it still has to go final miles, right? Like there's all that. So there's those three modes of transportation. Same thing with airplanes, right? It just gets from one city to the next, and then we pick it up on a truck. So everything really moves on a truck.
Oh, okay.
For the most part, like
because it's like in like general delivery for Amazon or for FedEx, they always talk about the last mile. But for trucking, would you say it's like the last 50 miles or last 20 miles? Or
yeah, there's that. Drayage is within 100 miles of the port, or like same thing with intermodal. Those things come from, they go from one chassis to the next. So a train chassis into a truck chassis, or it goes to a warehouse. And this is transloading. So they unload at the warehouse and then they transfer it to one of our trucks or the smaller trucks.
Okay.
So everything's moving on trucks, no matter what. So, the drone idea sounds really, really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that would be for air traffic. I don't know. You're a pilot. You tell me. Do you want more traffic up in the air?
I'm not a pilot yet, but I think there's a lot of space. And at some point, if people get used to it, right now it's pretty crazy. I mean, in LA, we're used to it. So there's a helicopter flying over my building every 30 minutes. So we're kind of used to it. But I think people are, maybe concerned if they see a lot of containers up in the air flying around.
I don't think that would be, a container would be scary in the air. Just that thought. I mean, we're in LA, so we saw Waymo, remember?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Tell me about your experience. You just rode it yesterday for the first time?
Yes. So I was on the waiting list for a while. I actually saw that in Houston. I was on the waiting list. But obviously we have EO guys, right? So Josh gave me a code. So I was able to just get into it right away. Like right away. And I was like, I was tripping out yesterday. I was more shocked, excited. But it actually didn't pick me up at a hotel. It made me go on the side of the hotel on a major street. So I had to actually run to it because it wasn't going to go where the people were. And then it's weird. You have to unlock the car with your phone.
And it also didn't want to go into the alleys, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It just went on the major roads.
Okay.
So what I did was I went to it, and you have to unlock it on your phone. Uh-huh. You have to wear your seatbelt, by the way, because it will just go bing, 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 bing. There's an alarm if you don't have your seatbelt. And then, when you get to your destination, which is really cool, it keeps it locked. So you have to at least unlock it twice so that you could get out. So for your safety.
Okay.
So, but it's a really clean car.
It's a Jaguar, right?
It's a Jaguar.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting that it could drive by itself. It's crazy because I was thinking, because people talk about it in trucking all the time, like, will we be replaced as drivers with driverless trucks? But it's scary. I could see it with the one little trucks, but our trucks are connected. We have a 53-foot trailer, and we have a tractor connecting to it. Uh-huh. So they're two separate pieces of equipment. So I could see it happening first with
compact
maybe, cars, maybe compact trucks or like Amazon. Yeah. But I don't know. Someone still has to throw the packages unless we're all going to grab the packages, or it has an extra hand that just throws it.
They throw it in the front of it anyway, right?
Yeah, they're going to break it anyway.
FedEx, they don't deliver at all here. They just come every day and put a sticker on, we missed you.
I saw that. I saw that on your front door. You have to put a sticker on there to make sure, because they can't, because it's all locked up here. We're in LA.
But coming back to Waymo, so you like the experience?
Yes, it was actually really cool. It was actually cheaper than Uber because I took an Uber back. The same length. But Uber costs $15.98 with a $3 tip. Okay. I don't tip $5, by the way. I just tipped $3. Yeah. And then theirs was $12 flat. Waymo. It's actually interesting.
I mean, probably they subsidize it a little bit for the beginning. Yeah. I read the cars are pretty expensive to build as it's all LiDAR and radar system. And that's a big difference to Tesla. So Elon Musk believes more in visual techniques like camera stuff, as it's so cheap. I mean, you can build in a camera for probably $10 or so, and you have like 20 of them, and then everything works out. That's what he says. But Waymo, they believe more in like radar and LiDAR and all these technique, but it's so expensive. I think one of these cars costs around $300,000. So you have to be careful. And if you want to roll that out, it's a heavy invest.
Oh yeah, I mean it's what's happening. It's what's happening in trucking right now. There's hydrogen and electric, and that's the problem too. Because a regular truck would cost $180,000 to $200,000, and then you have to have the now they want electric. Those things are like $500,000, $600,000. Wow! So double the price or triple the price.
Just the truck itself.
Just the truck itself. No trailer. You don't get a trailer.
How much is a trailer?
So trailers, you could get used ones now for $20,000 to $30,000. Okay. And then there's refrigerated trailers that have the refrigeration in there. Okay. So that unit is going to cost you another. So those trailers are around $70,000 to $150,000. Okay. And then, a brand new trailer will cost you anywhere from $40,000 to $70,000 right now.
How many trucks do you have?
8.
8 trucks?
Yeah, 8 trailers and 8 trucks. Okay. Yeah, but I lease my trucks because I don't want to take care of trucks. I'd rather have someone take care of it, and I own the trailers and the trucks. Every time it breaks down, I could just get into a new one like a rent-a-car and then start. Okay. So I'll never break. So the guys that you see broke down on the side of the road, that happens to us, but we have roadside assistance. Okay. So we're able to jump onto another truck so that our deliveries can still happen. And we don't have to call the customer and say we're broken down for a couple of weeks waiting for parts.
And you have like around 20 drivers or so?
Oh no, we only have 8 drivers. Okay. Well, actually, no, we have 10 and they rotate. Okay. Some of them want to take more time off. Oh, okay. And so when they're not driving, we also get so if our guys are on vacation, we actually have like this driver pool. It's pretty cool that you could hire a driver. It's like a platform. Nice. And they could jump in our truck for about, for a load, just so our driver can stay
just
home.
That it's running, right?
Yeah, it's with technology nowadays, there's a lot of platforms. You could find drivers. You could find anyone to do like work for you.
what are the rules on like brakes and stuff for drivers? Like how long can they drive until they have to do a brake?
Oh yeah, this is a cool one. So it's called. So now they're on electronic log data. So it's ELDs, electronic logging data. And so what that does is it makes sure that they are compliant. So there's 24 hours, and in that 24 hours, they could drive 11 hours of it, and they're on. So they basically could be on the call for. On duty for 14 hours. So
Okay.
within that 14 hours, they could drive 11 hours of it. But sometimes they spend time sitting.
Yep.
So they have to take a 10-hour break no matter what. So 10 hours to go to sleep at all times. So they only have a 14-hour window to drive 11 hours. But let's say they're stuck at a shipper or a receiver.
Yep.
And that shipper takes 6 hours to drive. Well, 6 minus 14 is 8. So they only have 8 hours to drive. And then they have to take a 10-hour
So
break
you're
to
on
sleep.
duty when you're waiting for the shipper?
Yes.
Ah.
You have to be on
that
duty.
sucks, huh?
It sucks. Because like you know, when you leave and that's why it's such a big deal in trucking right now, where there is a lot of detention, where a driver is sitting there not getting paid, and drivers get paid per mile. They don't get paid per hour.
Wow.
Yeah, unless they're local guys. The local guys keep moving, but the guys that are driving from here to Florida, if they're waiting at a shipper or a receiver, that's taken away from their wage. It's like wage theft almost.
Yeah,
They're stealing money from the driver, from the company, because now you have not only just a driver there, but you have a truck, a trailer that's sitting doing nothing. It's a big problem. Detention's a really, really big problem in trucking.
Is there? So I thought about like airplanes, right? So they also want to minimize the time on the ground, and there's like so many crews waiting, and here and there and there and there, like that. It's always moving. Is that a thing that works? Let's say you have like 2 drivers on one truck, and they just running around the clock, and the truck's running all the time and doesn't stop at all.
Yeah, that's those are called team drivers. So that actually happens behind the scenes with a lot of, like the FedExes and the UPSs. They have team drivers.
Okay.
And so what happens is they'll drive. I think you could get anywhere in the United States within 48 hours.
Yeah.
So you could literally have 2 guys driving. I mean, one sleeps, one drives. And they're still having to follow that rule that, the 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
But they still have the driver still has to have 10 hours off. So whoever's driving, but at least, I don't know. I feel uncomfortable sleeping while you're driving. I've been in the car with you.
I'll just pass out.
No, that's the scary part with a lot of with team driving. You could get it. It's efficient, but it's not like how you would think airlines are.
Yeah.
Truck drivers are not like pilots. They're not treated like pilots.
Okay.
In air, I feel like they are the pilots of the road, but they don't get treated like it.
Maybe they should get some uniforms.
It'd be cool if they did, and give them like trucker hats.
Oh yeah,
like captain hats.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. That's funny.
You want to make some hats for us? That's cool trucker hats.
We should get some.
You got some awesome designs here.
Oh yeah. Shout out to you, rocking all the new Trend Society swag. Like you got the cap, you got the shirt, you got everything, man. That's so good.
Thank you. I'm here to support.
We should do a collab with Fr8topia. I could see that.
Oh yeah.
Like with the name of the truck driver on it and like a trucker hat. That would be so much fun.
No, that's why I want to make trucking cool. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that I feel like that's gonna be my new take on it. I have some stuff coming out. Just wait with these with these remember we talked about it, but I don't want to talk about it in public.
Yeah.
That idea that I have secret? With my trailers, remember?
Talk about it.
No, I don't want to talk about that now.
So there's something fancy happening with the trailers?
Yeah, well, I want to
do crazy marketing stunt?
Yes, that's what I want to do.
Okay, so if you want to know more about that, check it out on your LinkedIn.
It's coming soon. It's in the back. It's in the works.
The reason you're actually here is I was following you on LinkedIn all the time, and every day I see 3 posts of you talking about trucking, talking about your passion, talking about what you like, what you see, and all that. How did you start that out, and how is that going?
It's going really well. I feel that I get to build in public, and that's really helped out a lot for credibility. Because in trucking, one of the things in trucking, Ben, is that it's very like there's a lot of trust issues, and I like the fact that we are, but by me being out in the open, it's showing that I'm a person of of trust.
So trust issues means people think they steal from you, or like just if it comes on time, or what do they think?
No, it's like, people out there starting, there's a lot of fake trucking companies out there, fake brokerages out there that really steal the freight. And
Wow.
yes, and that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be on LinkedIn, and I'm just going to let everyone know what I'm doing. It shows my customers that I'm building in public. And if I'm building in public, it's way easier to trust someone for me to handle their $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 load than some guy that they met on the phone. Because before you were able to do that, but with technology, no longer. But going back to LinkedIn, I really, with the whole EO journey, I felt like I always thought I wasn't good enough to be in front of the public. So I just started to post every single day as I got better. And then now I'm so used to it, and I get to be more creative. I get my creative flow out and show the world, because I do all of my own posts. I don't let ChatGPT or anything. Everything is me, and whatever I think of, I'll just throw it out there.
Nice. What would you recommend someone who would like to start but is afraid of what people think, or what to talk about, or like just how to start?
It's so scary at first because you want people to like you. You want people to listen to you. You want your message out there. So what I started doing is I just had to get in this mindset of who cares, who really cares. And at the end of the day, you don't need gazillion followers. You only need 5 or 10 or 15 that's really going to make you feel good about your purpose. And that's what I just said. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to write things that I think is what is important to me, and I'll attract the right people. I don't really care about having, 1,000 likes. I really want to just touch the people that I feel that are going to be ones that are going to support me, because you don't need a gazillion followers.
What do you tell people who think, oh, I'm in a niche, nobody wants to hear about what I have to say? I don't know, text consultancy, or I'm a CFO, or I do plans, or I do trucking. That's so boring. What did you tell them?
Well, it's the same thing I tell my employees that I'm like, hey, we should do this. I said, don't be afraid. You never know who's going to listen, or who you're going to inspire, or who you're going to touch. And that could change someone's life. Like you never know. And that's why I just keep throwing it out there. It's like a songwriter. You never know which song is going to hit someone. You just keep throwing it out there. But it's one of those things where if it really means a lot to you to get your next job, like remember, like that's your resume. I feel like that's my resume now. It's been building the history of who I am as a person, and someone's going to take a liking to that. I mean, it's insane. Like you said, you've seen me on LinkedIn, and now we're here. And, even though we run, we're in EO together, but it's still interesting to know what everyone else is doing. And if you're doing it in public, and someone actually cares, because remember, people are looking, they're not really liking, but they're looking.
That's true. And I like the comparison to a songwriter. So if you post content, you're kind of like a musician. You do it, but first of all, you should do it for yourself and not for the audience or for whatever. And most of the crazy successful musicians, they just started in their room playing guitar, trying some stuff out, doing a solo, writing some fun lyrics and songs. And then at some point, it attracted a couple of people. But in the beginning, you should just do it for yourself and do what you like, and not to go for just chasing the next trend here and there, and this is what people want to like, and here's a good trend I can jump on, and here's something where I can do some controversy or catch some comments or so. I think if you truly do what you love, then it will be successful in the end. And if it's not successful, then you probably should have just gone further and longer and more persistent. And I kind of feel about that, about this podcast. So, guys, you're listening that podcast here. Maybe it's your first episode. Maybe it's your 100th episode. I'm doing this forever, and I love it. And when I started it out, there was nobody listening to it, right? Like the first episodes were so shitty. Like nobody was tuning in. And it takes a while to build an audience. And it takes another while to build an audience if you change the language. to English, as we thought about. There's so many more stories I want to tell, and I don't want to just limit it to German, even though it's my native language. But that was what inspired me on the podcast, and that's why I keep doing this.
No, it's awesome that you do that, because I mean I follow you on LinkedIn, of course, right, and know what you're doing, and I know that's hard to be putting out there, and it's just like an artist. If you really, really, truly love what you're doing, you're going to not care about the outcome. You know, it's nice, like you said, someone's going to pick it up and it's going to resonate with them. But to me, it's just a creative process of it. I want to go out there and post as much as I can on how I feel that day. So everything is that, and people are surprised, like, wait, you don't have this like set up, a scheduled? I'm like, nah. I mean, sometimes I do. Like, I'll schedule something because it comes up, but I don't want to just post 2 minutes after the one. So I'll schedule it. But I have so many notes and ideas, and instead of keeping them on my notes, I just take the note and put it on LinkedIn.
Just put it on.
Yeah.
So I have an idea.
Don't even think about it. I don't even think about it. I just go.
I have an idea about building new content and also summarize all my content and all my thoughts. So at one point, I want to put all my LinkedIn posts and all my newsletters into ChatGPT and tell them like, hey, please create a summary of all the takeaways I posted. Because every day there's a new takeaway, a new insight. These are my top 3 things. This thing sucks and all that. And I think ChatGPT is very good in structuring all that messy data and also like filtering a little bit of that. And I'm not sure what I want to do with that. Maybe it can be a good guide or whatever, or the foundation of a book or a checklist or a learning platform or whatever. But I thought that might be a good hack for like just cultivating that knowledge that already exists.
Yeah. No, I mean, of course. I mean, if you were to go back to all your posts, that's actually interesting because I scroll all the way down. I'm like, did I write about this already?
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes I forget. Like, and then it'd be really good if it was in if you could get that data set and then tell ChatGPT or whatever the AI is grab the most important information or
actually
or the best messages.
there's an app. It's called, or like website's called Shield.ai or Shield app also. And I use it for tracking the stats of the post. So it shows you the keywords and the posts that we're most engaged with and all. Like it's $10 a month or so, but it's pretty good. And that's how I find out what people actually like and what gets reach. And sometimes we repeat these kind of posts and like just rephrase them and put them in again. And as you said in the beginning, like before we started recording, is that people care or like and comment about just random stuff and random shit, right? The Waymo story. But if you actually have something to tell, like from your heart, and you're talking about how trucking will change in the future, nobody cares, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I think we're a distracted society. So the fancy or the funny, the memes and all that work better because sometimes no one has time to listen to all your feelings, especially when it's a long one. So that's why I'm very like whatever I come up with, it's got to be pretty short too. I don't want to have a whole thing about why it is that way. I'd rather break it up into a couple of because our attention span is so. Like if you see something, it's like whoa, and
it's gone.
It's gone. It's done. It's when we see a squirrel.
Yeah,
and I think that's how everyone does with their posts, right? Like I feel like that's the problem with having the I would say the whole challenge of being creative is how can I capture that one person's attention for like 15 seconds, right? If you're really trying to get a like, especially for a company like yours, where you are a marketing company, you are like you have fashion and you're a production company. You want to you have to because you're consumer base, but business to business, I think it takes only a couple people to just look at it and say, wow, I like this guy's story. Because I mean, I do that with all my friends. Like I spend the time to read a lot of the posts. Like I want to know what is in their heart. Like even if they show a funny one, like if you could tell the guys from EO that are posting and putting their heart out there. I mean, I take the time to read those. They're pretty cool. So,
what other platforms do you use? I think when I'm looking to your content as it's like so short and sharp, the stuff you're putting out, to be also pretty successful on Threads or X. I think that would be like definitely a good thing to go for.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that. I just opened up an X, but it's a lot of time to do these, and I do think about the one hit wonders. Like, how can I consolidate what my thoughts are into this one feeling? And that's how I always do it. Like, so that's how I'm able to feel that I'm not bombarding everyone with all the words. It's just one hit wonders, or like one hit, like one-liners that I try to do, and I try to make it funny, humorous about it, because that's my jam.
How does it translate to your business and sales? I think it's also pretty successful, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been onboarding customers, and I think it shortens the sales cycle. So before, they don't know the guy calling or the guy trying to make a meeting or trying to get a meeting with them. It's great to show up or on a phone call. Hey, I've already seen you, or that was cool that you did that. So it automatically builds that common ground, because in sales, that's very important. You get the bullshit out of the way. In the beginning, like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like,
it takes forever.
It's like all the small talk.
Yep.
It's like they already know you. I feel like when you go to someone who's already been looking at your profile, like, those are the best calls. Like, oh, I've looked you up. I was like, oh, awesome. This is going to be great. Because now they already know who I am. And then, I kind of know who they are. So it already shortens that sales cycle. And then they just like you, or otherwise they wouldn't take a meeting with you.
Yeah.
Because before it was like you'd have to call them like 30, 40 times or email them to get their attention. And now you're building in public. So you have a public profile. So it's your resume.
That's good. So there's a concept of like building a lead gen, and also the concept of demand generation. And I really believe in that. Putting out the stuff you like, telling your stories, showcasing your content, tell your clients and potential clients of what you're doing. And then they look it up all the time, right? They know what you're doing. When you're on the call with them, you can actually sell right away. And with lead generation back then, it was way different, right? It was you're just penetrating, 50 clients or potential clients, and nobody wants to talk to you. And one actually is there, and then you have to tell them everything you're doing. And now it's different. Now it's they know already what they're getting.
Well, I like that you say that, because I look at that as like intentional. Like, I'm intentional about my marketing, where I'm before lead generation, you qualify the guys. Like, you're like, okay, that guy, they do this, they have a warehouse, they do this. Like, you're qualifying them, and then you call them. Now it's like, forget about that. Let me just put out content on what I feel and who I am as a person and what we do, and maybe attract those people. So I'm intentional about attracting the people that I want. Like now I'm at this point in my career where I just want to do business with people who I like and who like me. That's it. It's like such a simple principle, where it's so much, it's going to, a business to business is a relationship forever, because it's never your account. It's only your turn. And when it's your turn, you got to make sure you're going to do everything to keep that account as long as you can when it's your turn, because someone else is calling that person. Another business is. So the whole thing about intentional is that if they really like you, it's going to be your turn forever. And I really pride myself on that. Everyone talks about revenue. I talk about, okay, how long did you keep the customer for? That's called churn. I wish people would say that, because that's a big difference, right? Like, if you knew how long you had the customer, like, for example, in your case, like BMW, how long have you had that account?
Since 2018. So
that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's called your churn. Like, you have that's 100% retention. And I hate when people go, oh, I've had it. I'm like, it's not really your account, man. It's like, how long have you had it? Because you can only have it for 2 months, and then the next person is on. So like, I have accounts that I've had for 20 years. It's crazy. And that's what I pride myself in. I really like long-term relationships. And that's what I am after on LinkedIn. And that's what I want to tell people about my message, is that when it's my turn, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep you when it's my turn.
What would you say is part of that customer success? And I think it's throughout all industries. It's not just in trucking, it's in media, it's everywhere, also in product. Um, that the customer is making sure the customer's happy. How do you do that? What are, in your opinion, the most important ingredients to that?
I think it's relationship and the communication and the connection, and really caring. Like that's my biggest thing, is to actually really care, not by saying it, by showing it. And the only way to care is to show it, and that's what we've done. I've always cared about my relationship with my customers, and that's big for me. And I mean, I think you know that from hanging out with me now, like with everyone in EO, like I really care. That's where it's at. And then showing it, and by doing it.
It's so good. Tristan, thank you so much for all these insights. That was very, very valuable. And if you guys liked what Tristan's saying here, check him out on LinkedIn, Tristan Bordallo, Fr8topia.
And I am Freight.
And I'm Freight, so there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of knowledge he puts out. And happy to talk to you on the podcast. Also, to our lovely audience, if you're listening to it right now, think about what did you learn today? I got a lot of great takeaways, like what you said about customer success, what you said about like how the marketing has to be intentional and all that. So I really loved it, even though it's not like a typical marketing topic that we did today. Really good job, and would love to have you back anytime soon. So thank you so much for your time today, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, Benny.